Welcome back to Stamps Old World UK, the channel where history, paper, and value come together. And today we are diving deep into one of the most familiar and most talked about classic United States postage stamps, a stamp that many collectors around the world have seen, owned, or wondered about at least once in their collecting journey. This video is all about understanding this stamp, its background, why it is so common yet still important, and most importantly, how the stamp market values it today in US dollars. The stamp you are looking at is a classic 3-cent United States postage stamp printed in a rich purple tone, featuring a traditional engraved portrait design surrounded by ornamental lines and text reading US postage and 3 cents. This stamp comes from a period when letter postage in the United States was standardized at 3 cents, which made this denomination one of the most heavily printed and widely used stamps of its time. Because of this massive production, millions upon millions of copies entered circulation, traveled through the postal system, and eventually made their way into collections all over the world. From a historical perspective, this stamp represents stability, national identity, and the everyday communication of an entire nation during the early 20th century. It was not a commemorative printed for a short event, but a workhorse stamp designed to be used daily on letters, postcards, and official mail. That everyday use is exactly why so many examples still exist today, and why collectors frequently encounter this stamp in albums, dealer boxes, estate lots, and beginner collections. Now, let us talk honestly about market value, because this is where many new collectors feel confused or disappointed. In today's stamp market, value is determined by rarity, condition, demand, and originality. Because this 3-cent stamp was printed in extremely large quantities, it is not rare in the traditional sense. As a result, most used examples with visible postmarks and average centering typically sell for a very low price. In today's market, a used copy in average condition often sells for around 10 to 50 cents in US dollars, and sometimes even less when bought in bulk lots. Mint examples tell a slightly different story, but condition still matters enormously. A mint stamp with original gum that has been hinged in the past usually sells in the range of 1 to 3 US dollars, depending on how fresh it looks and how well centered the design is. A mint never hinged example, meaning the original gum is intact and untouched, can command a higher price, often ranging from 5 to 15 US dollars. Exceptionally well-centered copies with strong color and flawless gum can sometimes sell for even more, but these are the exception rather than the rule. One of the biggest factors that affects the value of this stamp is centering. Collectors pay close attention to how evenly the design sits within the perforations. Poorly centered stamps are extremely common and have very little market appeal, while sharply centered examples stand out immediately and are far more desirable. Another important factor is perforation quality. Clean, complete perforations add value, while short or damaged perforations reduce it significantly. Postmarks also play a role in value and interest. A light, readable cancellation that does not obscure the portrait is preferred by collectors. Heavy or messy postmarks can lower value, while clear town names or interesting dates can sometimes add a small premium, especially if the stamp is tied to a cover or postal history item. It is also important to understand that stamp values today are not what they were decades ago. The global stamp market has changed dramatically, with fewer collectors, more material available, and a strong focus on condition and specialization. This means that common stamps like this one should not be viewed as financial investments, but rather as historical artifacts and educational pieces that help collectors learn grading, identification, and market awareness. For beginner collectors, this 3-cent stamp is actually a perfect learning tool. It teaches the importance of condition, helps develop an eye for centering and color, and provides a clear example of how supply affects price. For advanced collectors, the challenge lies in finding truly exceptional examples, rare printing varieties, or stamps on original covers that tell a complete postal story. If you are holding one of these stamps today and wondering whether it is valuable, the best advice is to examine it carefully under good light, compare it with reference images, and be realistic about its condition. Most examples are modestly priced, but every stamp still carries historical value and represents a small piece of the past that survived decades of handling and travel. At Stamps Old World UK, we believe that stamp collecting is not just about high prices, but about understanding history, design, and the journey of each stamp through time. This 3-cent United States stamp may be common, but it remains an iconic piece of philatelic history and a reminder that even the simplest stamps can tell powerful stories. Next up, the 3-cent Statue of Liberty definitive stamp, a classic issue that has appeared in countless collections around the world and continues to raise questions about history, meaning, and market value in today's US dollar terms. This stamp features the Statue of Liberty standing proudly with torch raised high, a powerful symbol known across the globe. Above the design, the words "In God We Trust" appear clearly, while the word "Liberty" is boldly printed at the bottom. Issued during a period when definitive stamps were designed for long-term, everyday postal use, this 3-cent stamp once again matched the standard domestic letter rate in the United States. Because of this, it was printed in extremely large quantities and used heavily on everyday mail, from personal letters to official correspondence. Historically, this stamp reflects a time when the United States placed strong emphasis on national symbols and patriotic imagery in its definitive series. The Statue of Liberty design was meant to convey stability, freedom, and trust, especially during a period of global tension and change. The engraving style, strong lines, and solid color give the stamp a dignified and authoritative appearance, making it one of the most visually striking definitive stamps of its era. Now let us move to the most common question collectors ask, which is how much is this stamp worth today in the current stamp market? Because this stamp was produced in massive numbers, it is considered a common stamp. Most used examples with normal cancellations and average centering typically sell for very modest prices. In today's market, a used copy usually ranges from around 10 cents to 50 cents in US dollars, depending on overall appearance, centering, and the clarity of the postmark. Mint examples can be more desirable, but condition is absolutely critical. A mint stamp with original gum that has been hinged in the past usually sells in the range of 1 to 3 US dollars. A mint never hinged example, meaning the gum is fully intact and untouched, often sells for 5 to 10 US dollars, and sometimes slightly more if the centering is particularly sharp and the color is fresh and strong. Poor centering, gum disturbance, or perforation damage will significantly reduce the value. As with most definitive stamps, centering plays a major role in determining desirability. Collectors strongly prefer examples where the Statue of Liberty is evenly framed within the perforations. Well-centered stamps stand out immediately and can command a noticeable premium over poorly centered ones. Perforations must also be complete and clean, as short or torn perforations reduce both value and visual appeal. Postmarks are another factor to consider. A light, readable cancellation that does not distract from the design is preferred. Heavy or smeared postmarks generally lower value, while clear town names or interesting dates can add a small amount of interest, especially for collectors who enjoy postal history. Examples still attached to original envelopes, known as covers, can be more valuable depending on usage, destination, and condition. It is important to understand that stamps like this should not be judged solely by price. While the market value may be modest, the historical and symbolic value is significant. This stamp represents everyday communication during a specific era and reflects how national identity was expressed through postal design. For many collectors, especially beginners, this 3-cent Statue of Liberty stamp serves as an excellent introduction to classic United States definitives and helps build knowledge about grading, centering, and market realities. For advanced collectors, the challenge lies in finding exceptional examples, unusual printing varieties, or stamps used in uncommon postal ways. These specialized areas are where deeper interest and higher values can sometimes be found, rather than in single loose stamps alone. At Stamps Old World UK, we always encourage collectors to appreciate stamps for more than just money. This 3-cent Statue of Liberty stamp may be common, but it is a powerful piece of history that continues to connect collectors across generations and continents. Every stamp tells a story, and this one tells a story of freedom, communication, and national pride. Next up, the 3-cent Thomas Jefferson United States postage stamp, exploring its history, its design, its role in everyday postal use, and its realistic market value today measured in US dollars. This stamp features a strong engraved portrait of Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States and one of the principal authors of the Declaration of Independence. The design is simple, dignified, and very much in line with mid-20th century definitive stamp styles. The inscription United States Postage appears at the top, while Thomas Jefferson's name and life dates are printed clearly beside the portrait. The 3-cent denomination is shown prominently, reflecting the standard domestic letter rate at the time of issue. Historically, this stamp belongs to a period when the United States Postal Service regularly honored presidents and founding figures through definitive issues intended for long-term daily use. This was not a limited commemorative stamp, but a workhorse issue, printed in very large quantities and used extensively on everyday mail. Letters bearing this stamp traveled across cities, states, and even internationally, making it one of the most widely circulated Jefferson portraits ever printed. Because of this enormous production, the stamp is considered common in philatelic terms. However, common does not mean unimportant. This stamp represents a key era in American postal history and reflects how national identity and historical leadership were presented to the public through everyday objects. For many collectors, especially beginners, this stamp is often one of the first classic U.S. definitives they encounter. Now, let us turn to the question of market value, which is always a major point of interest. In today's stamp market, the 3-cent Thomas Jefferson stamp generally holds a modest value due to its wide availability. A typical used example with average centering and a standard postmark usually sells for around 10 to 40 cents in US dollars. In bulk lots, these stamps can sometimes cost even less per piece. Mint examples are more desirable, but condition remains the key factor. A mint stamp with original gum that has been hinged usually sells in the range of 1 to 3 US dollars. A mint never hinged example, meaning the original gum is fully intact and undisturbed, can sell for approximately 5 to 12 US dollars, depending on centering, gum quality, and overall freshness. Exceptionally well-centered copies with strong color and flawless gum may sell for slightly more, but these are not common. Centering plays a critical role in determining value. Collectors prefer stamps where the portrait of Jefferson is evenly framed within the perforations. Poorly centered examples are extremely common and have little appeal, while well-centered stamps stand out and command higher prices. Perforation quality is also important, as short or damaged perforations reduce both value and visual appeal. Postmarks on used examples can affect desirability as well. A light, clean cancellation that does not obscure Jefferson's face is preferred. Heavy or blurred postmarks lower value, while clear town names or readable dates can add minor interest, especially for collectors who enjoy postal history. Stamps still attached to original envelopes, known as covers, may have higher value depending on the destination, date, and condition. It is very important for collectors to understand that stamps like this should not be seen as financial investments. The modern stamp market places high value on rarity, specialization, and exceptional condition. Common definitive stamps, such as this one, are best appreciated for their historical significance and educational value rather than their price alone. For new collectors, this stamp is an excellent learning piece. It helps build skills in identifying centering quality, gum condition, and general grading standards. For more advanced collectors, interest may lie in plate varieties, printing differences, or unusual postal usages rather than the single stamp itself. At Stamps Old World UK, we believe every stamp has a story worth telling. The 3-cent Thomas Jefferson stamp tells a story of leadership, communication, and everyday life in a past era. Even though its market value today may be modest, its historical value remains strong, and it continues to hold an important place in collections worldwide. If you enjoyed this long and honest discussion, please like the video, subscribe to Stamps Old World UK, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Let us know if you have this Jefferson stamp in your collection and whether yours is used or mint. Stay tuned for more deep dives into classic stamps, real market values, and the true meaning behind stamp collecting.